right, starting us back up. All right, so let's get an idea of what display is doing and these other things. So right now, when we mouse over, it doesn't really go the full length. So if we're to take these A tags, okay, which is basically these main ones, and we say display block, we can see that it's actually kind of doing what we want. So again, I think my notes are just annoying right now. I'm not sure why. But the LA display block is kind of what we want it to do. If we don't want the text to be in the center, we can just get rid of this completely. Okay, and then the text will be over to the left-hand side. It's kind of up to you. It's kind of up to whatever you want to do there. Now, I don't think this is doing anything. So, I mean, if I were to get rid of this, it's still working. So I'm going to get rid of that. Now remember, we're going to turn this back on. Okay, we haven't told it to be visible when we mouse over yet. But I mean, this is what we want it to look like. And these little squares here, that's just brackets stuff. So that shouldn't happen when you take it online. So comment all that out again. And then this float left, I don't know if this is doing anything either, to be honest. Okay, it is. Good. So this is good. We can see this. So you can see right now that home and about are not going across. They're stacking. So home's on top and about's on the bottom. So when we put in this li float left, what that does is it makes it so they go on the same line. Okay, because list items are block level elements. In other words, they don't like things to be on the same line as them. Now I could say float right. Okay, and that would bring it over here. So this is going to be how you control what side the links go on. Left is usually pretty standard, and we don't want people, I mean, if it's one area where you don't really want to screw around with, it's usually your navigation bar. You don't want to do all this weird funny crap that people have never seen before, and then they won't be able to navigate through your site, and it just gets pretty bad. All right, so the float left is what puts those going across. If you want to do like a vertical menu, that's when you would get rid of that float and you would start having buttons going up and down. Now these right here, if you want to control how wide they are, that's down here in the drop. Making them a lot wider. So really what you'll want to end up doing is once you have all of your links kind of filled out and you know how long they're going to be text-wise, then you can find a width that just kind of matches all of them. Now, if you need to have a different width for like this drop down and a different width for this drop down, then you'll just need to come in here and say like drop, then like drop 2, and then create a whole new class here. So I get 100 here and like 10 there. Maybe not. There we go. So there's the about with the 10 pixel width, and then there's the other one with the 200. So that could be how you can have these drop-down menus be different widths as needed, if they need to be. But again, you know, I say this 1,000 times. I'm going to keep saying it. You know, if you really want to learn this stuff, this is what you do: is you get in and you play around. You're like, well, what happens if I mess with this? And then you go over there and see what it does. And then you go, okay, cool. Now I know what's going on there. You start playing with these different values. If you're not sure what they do, change it and see how it affects the page. Okay, so I'm going to get rid of this. Just want to keep them all the same for now. All right, so now I'm going to mess with the A tags inside of these drop-down menus. The color be black. So now the color in here is black on the drop-downs. I don't think I needed to find the padding, do I? Kind of already did that. Yeah. Again, my notes have failed me. Don't need to do a padding because I already did that up here. Well, I guess if I wanted them to be different, I could. So maybe instead of the 14 top and bottom, I want the drop downs to be a little bit smaller, because you can see that these are a little bit shorter than this one. You could even go 10. I mean, I don't know. It's all just up to you. It's however you want to mess around with this. Then I don't know. I guess I don't really want them to be in the center, so I can say text align left. I kind of like how that lines up a little bit more. Again, play around with it, make it yours. Now I need that hover effect. I want it to be a little bit darker than that. Yeah. I guess that's okay. Just a subtle rollover. All right, still going. Okay, and now we need to make it so when we mouse over a drop down, which are these main buttons, I am going to style drop. It's kind of a cool thing you can do is you can have a hover be affected or have a hover be attached to something and have it affect something else. So when we hover over drop down, we are going to affect drop, which are these drop down buttons. And all we're going to do is just tell them to be viewable. Just be seen. So when we mouse over these main buttons, which have the class of drop down, it will make drop, which is the drop down menus, it will make them visible. We set the opacity to 1 and we set the visibility to visible. Now we can come over here and uncomment this. So they're gone, mouse over, there they are. Mouse out, they go away. And now we have actual functioning drop-down menus.
What if we still have drop-down menus visible?
You got to uncomment that. Because I had this commented out, which turned them visible, or turned them invisible, just because I wanted you to see all this stuff that we were doing to them. But once you have it set to have them be visible when you mouse over, then you can uncomment this, which will make them invisible. And then it should be working the way it should. Then all you got to do is when you want to start functioning, then you go into these A tags and you start putting in stuff for href. So when you actually click on it, it'll go to different sites and stuff. Now, of course, there's way more we could do to this. You know, give it a new font, switch up the colors, add border bottoms here, so you could have little lines going across. I mean, I don't know. It's up to you. But the other thing I want to show you that you need to do is you got to have some sort of animation effect. So when you mouse over this, it animates into place.
It's like the transition or...
Yep. So the reason why I'm using opacity and visibility here is because I can animate the stuff. So transition is a really, really, really cool CSS property that can do all kinds of pretty powerful stuff. I think, yeah, we already did it with the forms and the buttons. So it's the same thing. So I come over here to drop, and I say, all right, whenever visibility or opacity gets changed, I want to animate that change. So I can say transition. When the opacity changes, I'm going to animate that and have it take 0.8 seconds. Whenever visibility changes, I'm going to animate that change, and I'm going to have it last 0.8 seconds. Did I spell it right? Visibility. Looks like it. Okay, so now it fades in and out. Looks a lot cooler than it just kind of showing up and then going away. Now, I'm not going to dock points or anything, but you should try looking at doing something else besides it fading in or fading out. You know what? I want to look at something else here. I had overflow hidden. Just want to make sure this is doing what I thought it. Right now, the nav bar goes all the way across. I don't know if you want that. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. But you can still see that there's a little bit of space. We should be able to fix that. If you go to body and do what's called a reset. There we go. Now there's no more space. By default, the browser puts in just extra space on the left and right hand sides and on the top. So if you come in and say margin 0 and padding 0 on the body, that resets it, and so now it goes straight up against the browser. It's up, you know, I think it looks a little bit better.
My conference call thing isn't working.
I know, it seems like you keep trying to join. Is it kicking you guys out?
It
Yes.
does, and it also doesn't show anything on
lagging.
my screen. It's flat.
No, let me kill it. I may just be overrunning our internet right now by broadcasting and broadcasting. Yeah, I have no idea. Yeah, because OBS kept dying, and that was weird. It's usually pretty solid. And same with this. Now I know this lags every once in a while. It's a few seconds behind. Not a whole lot I can do about that. Yeah, this is pretty slow. I guess just rejoin. Maybe it'll look better. I don't know. So that's kind of it. You're going to need to have 5, right? So 5 of these. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then you need at least 3 little drop downs. Now I get it. It's going to look really weird. It's not going to look really like a typical website is. It's just, but again, I'm just hammering home the concept. So later on, if you wanted to use this, you can kind of get in there and manipulate it as you want. I would definitely recommend changing the fonts to the non-boring Times New Roman or whatever the heck it is. Think about different ways this could animate in. I know other types of sites, like when you mouse over about, like instead of it fading in, you'll have this like square kind of drop down and reveal everything. That's a little tricky. I did that a couple quarters ago. It's definitely possible. But you know, so basically what you do is you mouse over it, and instead of animating the opacity and visibility, you're animating the height. So the height would be 0, and then when you mouse over this, the height grows to that and displays everything in there. And then you mouse away, and then it shrinks back down to 0. That's a really cool effect as well. You could do similar thing with the width. You could mouse over that, and then it starts at 0 width, and then it goes out and reveals everything and comes back in. I mean, the transition property can basically almost animate most of the properties that exist in CSS. Not all of them, but I want to say actually animated position too. That's another thing you could look at doing, is like when you mouse over, it changes the position from like off here, maybe off the page, and you mouse over it and then it comes flying in. That'd be kind of cool. And then you mouse out and then it flies back out. I mean, that could be a cool transition as well. But I don't know, that's the kind of stuff, like that's the mentality you need to be in web design, is you got to think, okay, what are these different ways I could do it? Because it's just little stuff like this that makes your stuff stand out and look better and more professional than just your standard website in a can that everybody uses. But the better you can get yourself, like I said, in that mentality of, okay, how can I make this different? How can I make this mine? How can I make it stand out? The better your stuff's going to be, and the better, the better you're going to do in the industry. Just because I'm interested, I think this could be interesting. Yeah, I'm going to try it. So I'm going to say left negative 400 pixels. Okay, so it's working, but the drop-down menus are off here. They're off of the page. They're like over here. They were negative 400 pixels to the left from here. So they're probably actually off my screen somewhere. So what I want to do is I'm going to animate. Actually, I don't know if this is going to work. I'm going to animate the left property, and I'll have it take point. I'll just have it take 1 second.
Connection error thing again.
On OBS. Is it working for you guys too, or is it dying? Like what does it say? Does it just boot you out or what?
Connection error.
I'm good.
It just tried to connect again.
I've seen yours getting kicked out all afternoon.
I know. Jonathan keeps joining. Yeah, I don't know, man. I know I got an email a couple days ago. They said the internet here was having some major issues, so I'm wondering if...
Yeah, it says I'm not connected to the internet, but it's also working. So I'm not really sure what's exactly happening.
Yeah, dude, trial.
Throttling your internet.
Yep, those jerks. Okay, so I don't know. I'm gonna see if this works. All I can say is keep joining. I know that's lame, but that's all we can do. We are at the mercy of technology right now. Yeah, I don't know. Oh, yeah, okay. It did it. Now, wow, I didn't think that would work, but it did. Rock on. So it's a little off, but I actually kind of like that, it being off, because that kind of tabs it over a little bit. Home is working, but it puts it in the same spot. So how would I fix that? Knowing what you guys know, what would I need to mess with to make it so this shows up in the right spot?
Indentation?
How do I individualize it so I can style it differently? Maybe that's a horrible question. Because it's
tag it separately.
Yeah, so I mean, I just got to give it a different class, right? So when I mouse over about, it goes there. When I mouse over home, it goes over here. So I could call this, we'll go Just drop, and we'll call this drop 2. So, I mean, really, actually, it shouldn't be too hard. It should just be like, okay, when I mouse over drop 2, actually, so this is going to be left maybe 5, because that's the first one. This is the home. So when I mouse over the home one, it's going to put it 5, but when I mouse over drop down 2, not drop 2. I think actually I'm going to need to change both. Yep, I am going to need to change both. So now I have drop down 2. So when I mouse over drop down 2, it's going to animate drop 2 to left 80. When I mouse over drop down 1, or just drop down, which is over here, it's going to grab drop and bring it from left to 5. So that should do. No. I gotta come over here and say style drop 2 that way as well. This should work now. Hopefully we'll see. There's about, and there's home. That worked, 5 pixels over. Now this one though, what the crap? Looks like it's not changing the text to black. It's keeping it white. So, drop down 2. Drop 2. There it is. So now we got to say drop A is going to be black, and we also need to say drop 2A is black. That should do it. There we go. So I don't know. Another cool little drop down. Not drop down, slide in, I guess. And the cool thing is, I don't know if you can tell, but we're still getting that fade in and out. It's still fading in and fading out, but it's also moving now as well. The cool thing is, I mean, this used to only be possible in Flash. Now, you can do it with just CSS, which is pretty cool. So, again, it's kind of stuff. Like, just let your mind loose, be as creative thinking as possible, be like, this is what I want it to happen, and then let your technical skills catch up with you later. Be like, look, this is what I want it to do, and then you start hammering the code and you start playing around with it until it actually starts doing it. Google around, Stack Overflow has a lot of amazing stuff. Then of course, or Stack Exchange, I can't remember what it's called. Yeah, Stack Overflow, pretty sure. Yeah. Or of course, ask me. Chances are I can help you out. If not, we'll figure it out together. Then I think I kind of want to take this and move it over 10 instead of 5. Yeah, that about matches it. So I don't know, stuff like that. Just little things like that make it that much cooler. And then if you wanted to change the font, it's just the same spot where you turned it black. Right here, you just apply the new font there. So just for fun, let's do that. Actually, I'll just keep it the same font. Well, that might look a little weird. I don't know. We'll take a look. Oh, that actually looks okay. Now that's just on the drop down, right? We need to change it on the normal ones. So that's going to be right up here. So it's all about knowing what you're styling. Or maybe was that wrong? No, I'm not messing with drop anymore. It's going to be drop down. Or, no, it can be here too. There we go. Yeah, it's an okay font. Looks pretty good. And I want to just shrink those down a little bit just to give it a little bit of hierarchy. So font dash size, no idea. Yeah, it looks good. Anyways, you're on your way. Happy days. So play around with it. That's all I got for today. Again, just hopping back here. 5 items in the nav bar. They need to have some sort of drop down effect. Okay, it needs to have at least 3 items in those submenus. Then you need to do some sort of animation with the drop down. Background needs to be full screen. You need to have some sort of custom cursor. And this is what I was talking about before. Like I got a custom cursor right here and I mouse over, now it's a hand. And that just kind of, I don't know, it's a little weird. But, oh well. Anyways, that's it. This video will be up on the course when it's done. And just play around with it. This is due next week. Make it yours. Style it. Be as creative as you can. And it'll be amazing.